What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Real Quick with Mike Swick podcast. Sorry, I had a little bit of a hiatus. I was traveling nonstop. My schedule was crazy for a month. I did a couple podcasts in the beginning when I got to LA. And then when I got to the UAE at Dubai, I didn't know, but all the video platforms were banned. So like Skype, where I do all my podcasts with interviews and stuff, all those platforms were banned for video and for audio calls. So I had no choice. I'm really sorry. But I got some great content. I'll be sharing some cool stuff. And also, this is the first podcast of the month. So if you missed it, we are giving away a prize for anyone who comments below. We pick randomly of the comments below on this YouTube platform, and we give away a prize every single podcast. So it doesn't matter, what you say. It can be critical, it can be positive, it can be, we just pick randomly, and we're going to send you a message. We're going to announce it on the actual comments, and then we're going to get your address, and we're going to send you a swag bag from AK Thailand. You're going to get AK Thailand stuff, as well as the new podcast t-shirt here. My new logo, my new podcast shirt. This is also available if you don't win from akthailand.com/store. And we have 20% discount right now. So you can actually get this shirt along with other shirts, all from AK Thailand. Shorts, hand wraps, all kinds of custom stuff for my company. And you can get it at 20% discount if you go right now to akthailand.com/store. And support the podcast. So anyway, let's get to our first guest, our only guest today, a very great guest, one that I was very excited about. I love having him on the show, Anthony Smith. So let's get started. Anthony Smith, welcome back to the show, bud.
Yeah, man, I'm happy to be back. It's been a while.
Yeah, I've been on a hiatus myself, so just getting back in the podcast room, doing interviews, traveling for a month, and then that was in the UAE for 2 weeks, and so everything was like kind of shut off, all the Skype and video platforms and calling platforms, so I couldn't do any interviews. So you, my friend, are my first interview back, my first official podcast back in a while, and I couldn't have picked a better guest, so I'm very excited about this.
Yeah, man, I'm honored. Could you imagine how crazy people in the U.S. would go if they got all their video platforms shut off?
Yeah, there's like a couple. There's like Botem, and Telegram works like 50% of the time on audio calls, sometimes video, but like everything else is shut off. So Skype, I think Zoom works. I just don't know how to do it for a podcast yet. I got to get kind of caught up with the times.
Right.
But yeah, everything else is shut off. And I have no idea why. If you can text somebody, you can give information to them. Why can't you just call them? It doesn't make any sense. I have no idea.
yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
But man, congratulations on your fight with Crute. We talked before that. I think we had a podcast in March, and then you fought in April, late April. Excellent fight, man. Your jabs were spot on. Your patience was amazing. It seems like you really studied for that fight. Used your jabs effectively enough to actually hurt him and possibly knock him out, but then you set up a great right hand, which definitely caused some damage, and then just added to those jabs you continued to hit him with. And then that kick was, I just watched it again, the slow motion replay of it, but it was just spot on to that nerve. And like, whatever that is, man, that's a new thing. And you, did you practice that? I mean, is that part of your game plan for that fight, or is it, because it was like spot on?
Yeah, like in my game, I feel like I have this huge toolbox, and I haven't even touched most of it when I've been able to compete. So in this fight, we got a young, hungry, like super aggressive, really powerful dude.
Yep.
Like I'm the old guy in the division now, so like you gotta back those guys off a little bit so they're just not overwhelming you. Like I'm too old to be getting in firefights with these young killers. So instead of getting in these brawls like deep down in my heart like I want to do, I got to pull back a little bit and really just systematically take these guys apart. And I think a lot of that's just helped with training, because I'm by no means old, but I'm the oldest guy on the team. So, I'm just surrounded by monsters, and they're young and they want everything I have. So I'm getting used to having to deal with people like that every single day. So I've always had a really good jab. I've just never really taken the patience and really sat down and systematically used it at the beginning of a fight to really set the pace. I've always been a big kicker in the gym. I just get in there sometimes and fight. I don't really use it. So I feel like I'm turning a corner and just fighting smarter, being more mature, and really checking my ego instead of trying to play this whose dick is bigger competition with these guys. I just go out and show that I'm just better technically everywhere. So, I think DC said in the fight that it was the first kick that I landed, but if you kind of rewind the tape like 10 seconds, I crushed him. was one right before that,
and
there was no noise to it, and he kind of blitzed me up against the cage. So I think the kick kind of got hidden in his blitz, but I absolutely crushed him. And he was trying to pin me on the fence the whole time, and then he finally did, and he kind of like took a gingerly step and he backed off and let me off the cage. So you know how it is as a fighter. If someone's trying to get you to the fence and then they get you there and they let you off, there's something wrong. Yeah. So I just went right back to the kick, and that's kind of how it ended.
Well, two things from that fight as well. I mean, he definitely proved he's a tough guy. I mean, he still wanted to keep going, and he was beat. You beat him, fair and square, and you hit him with everything, and you stopped the fight. But he definitely wanted to keep going. His pressure was good. Even with his foot out, he tried to take you down and did take you down, and it was trying to control you. Did an excellent job of showing composure there, staying calm, getting yourself back to your feet. He definitely proved he was a tough opponent. So congratulations, man. That was a great fight. How'd you feel after the fight? I mean, 2 in a row in the UFC now, and back on a streak, and that had to have felt pretty damn good.
Yeah, the crowd was one of the craziest things I've ever felt in my whole life. I've never had.
They were screaming your name, man. I heard him, Lionheart.
Yeah, it was crazy, man. I've never had it. I don't know if it was just people are really they were really hungry for live audiences again, and we were the first ones back, and I think I've been fighting so long without any crowds. I mean, it's been over 18 months or whatever with no crowds. So right. I think that my profile has raised through the pandemic. I've been working Dana thinks that working the desk has really helped my popularity, and I'm recognizable. And I think people are just hungry for live sports, and it did help that we're in Florida. Florida's a very patriotic state. I was the American. He was the guy from Australia. So I think that helped a little bit. I think there was a little bit of patriotism there. But like after that walk, there was probably no one in the world that was going to beat me. I was so hyped, and Tom Brady was cheering for me, and MGK was there, and I mean, it was just all the celebrities were out. So I was in a great place mentally. Afterwards, I was a little mad at myself. I did such a good job for 4.5 minutes of that fight of just really showcasing, like, I can be the technical, reined-in guy that, essentially I can be the dog on a leash when I need to be. And then I hurt him and drop him, and I just run onto a couple takedowns like an idiot, like that old me kind of came out a little bit. So I was a little frustrated by that, but I wanted a clean finish too. The doctor's stopping it in between rounds. That's a clean finish, I guess, in most people's eyes. But for me, I wanted a clean stoppage.
So a couple quick things going back real fast. I'll go in order. So you mean to tell me that you made one mistake in a fight? It's shocking. Like after a fight, you look back and you regret one thing, and not a bad thing, buddy. Trust me. I've sat and beat myself up over a lot more on losses too. I think you did quite well, and I think you handled those takedowns very well, and you got up and just your overall fight was just amazing. The next thing, old? What are you, 30, 33, 30?
33. I'm the oldest guy on the team.
Dude, you're trying to make me feel old. I'm 42, bro. Like you just insulted me without even telling me.
There's one other guy that's the same age, and that's Dustin Jacoby. That dude's been around forever. He's been in Glory, at Belfort, the UFC. This is his second stint. So, but like the sport is just getting so young. Like,
You're right.
There's guys that can't take fights at certain places because they're at, like, how it was back in the day. They're like in Indian reservations at casinos and shit, and they're not 21, so they can't even fight. Yeah, like they won't let them in. Like it just these kids are getting so good, so fast, so young. Yeah, it's just, I do, man. I just feel like the old guy at the gym, and like they're calling me grandpa, and it's and so I guess in life in general, I'm still very, very young, but in the space that we're in right now, I'm getting up there.
All right. Well, I'm still saying I'm young in business, so that I'm gonna hold on to that. But yeah, that's
hold on to it tight.
Yeah, hold on to everything that I can. Yeah, and like my last fight, I was 36, I think, when I retired in 2015, if I remember correctly, and my opponent Garcia was like 26. So I definitely can tell you from experience that I do feel that age difference. There's a little different amount of energy in a 26-year-old and a 36-year-old in the fight, even though I was prepared and in good shape. So I can tell kind of what you're saying, but you're still 33, man. You looked great in that fight. And another thing I noticed about that fight was the I guess the best way to say is you fought defensively effectively more than anyone I've seen in a long time. Usually you don't see people fighting being pushed back, or not even being pushed back, but staying back and staying out of range, and not worrying about putting your back against the cage or toward the cage and letting him take the center of the octagon, but still being effective with those jabs and still being effective from that. Usually when I see people getting backed up, we'll talk about it in a second, but Jake Paul, for instance, I didn't feel like he was in any control when he was backed up. And a lot of fights we can think of, obviously, if we sit and think about it, where people are getting backed up and having to go defensively, it just takes their game completely down. You were fighting a perfect game from moving backwards and letting him have his space, letting him come forward. Is that something else you've been working on? I mean, you've always done that pretty well, but like this one really showcased it a lot.
Yeah, I've really, like I said, man, I really feel like I've turned the corner, and I've always kind of been a late bloomer. When high school and wrestling and football, like I always feel like if I had started, I've always been the youngest guy, like in my class, like by far. So I always thought, like, if I just waited a year and would have been a year older in a lot of those situations, I think I would have done better. So I kind of feel like that in fighting right now. Like I feel like I'm just now figuring it out completely, and it's taken a while, obviously, but Mark Montoya has helped a lot with just being defensively responsible, but not – we talk about blending a lot. So whether it's – we're not just striking, we're not just wrestling, we're not just doing jiu-jitsu. You got to blend it all together really effortlessly. And I'm doing that – I've always kind of done that well, but what I haven't done well has been offensive and defensive at the same time. So, you know, again, back to kind of these hungry killers, these up-and-comers that just want it so damn bad. Yeah. It's pointless for me to fight with him over distance and range.
Very smart.
Because he's willing to take as many shots that he has to just so he can win that battle. So I kind of like, you know what, fuck it. Like, we'll fight at your range then. Like, if you want to take it, then I'll just keep feeding it to you, you know? So, like, it's almost, you got to let them dictate what they want to do and then just make them pay for it. And I think that that goes back to the, you know, I like to break people and get in people's heads and you know, just give them something different to think about while they're in there. So if his game plan was, I'm going to take the distance, I'm going to get in his face, I'm going to take the center, like, all right, you can have it.
Yeah.
Like, now what? You know, like, now what are you going to do with it?
Yeah, why go against the grain? And like I had a feeling you were going to say something like that because your fight IQ is just so good, and it made perfect sense. It was a perfect fight like that. And then obviously it was a big win. What did you do to celebrate? Anything special, or just another fight?
No, you know, the timing of the fight was perfect. My kids were out of school like just before the fight, or no, wait. Yeah, so my kids were, so I spent the summer with my family. The timing was perfect, and and that worked out to this fight timing being pretty perfect too, because I started camp and they went back to school. So I traveled a lot with my kids. We traveled all over the country in our RV. We went and rode the Outlaw Trails in West Virginia. We went to the Black Hills. We went to Little Sahara at the sand dunes. We went to Florida right after the fight. So I hate fighting summertime. I just don't want to waste any opportunities to spend that time with my kids while they're at school. So if I can avoid it, unless it's a title fight or something really huge, I won't fight in the summertime. So that's really what I did, man. Nothing big. You know, I had my birthday bash in Lake Okoboji like I do every year. So just kind of business as usual for us in the summer. Yeah,
I saw you spending time with your kids on your Instagram. Just going back really fast to the fight one more time. You mentioned about the crowds being a big difference for you. How much significant difference is that in the actual fight, or is it just kind of inspiring and motivational to hear your name being yelled so loud in the audience, or does it have a big effect to you? I mean, do you really feel like you step up and have a better fight when there's a crowd, or is it just kind of preference as far as like what you like when you're in there?
No, it's a huge benefit for me to have the crowd. You know, that was my 51st professional fight, so. Damn. I think after 50 professional fights, some of those emotions go away a little bit. Like, I still get excited, I still get pumped up, but there's not a whole bunch of nerves. And oddly enough, my last two fights, I've actually been a little bit nervous, and that's a very new thing for me.
Wow.
I haven't felt like that in a really, really long time. So, you know, we could go down that whole rabbit hole, but I think a lot of that's my therapy and kind of just addressing, you know, just some old bullshit that I got going on, but it's allowing me to feel. So I think having the crowds and I just feed off of that energy, and I'm very much an entertainer, and I enjoy making people happy. I enjoy that people enjoy watching me fight. That makes me feel really good. I have a lot of pride in that. So I think that it helped a lot, just the crowd and the energy, and it was a huge fight card too, like that was my first fight. It's the only fight out of my last 9 now that's not a main event. So like, wow. I felt the magnitude of the card, just with who was on it and how big it was. And it was cool to just be a part of it and not have to carry it, Yeah. So I think all of it just kind of spiraled into this perfect little storm for me. But I did figure out, during the pandemic, how to fight without a crowd. Now they're doing these VIP experiences. So they are selling tickets. It's very, very few. I think there's like 150 tickets or something. And I've worked those events since then. And it's actually a really cool atmosphere too, because it's like some Fight Club shit. It's just a bunch of VIPs that are kind of going nuts, and you just got this personal little show for them. Yeah. So, I got the pandemic fight thing figured out, but it was way easier just to get super hype and really excited and get that butterfly feeling in my stomach when there was a full crowd.
Yeah. And then following your updates on Instagram, obviously seeing that you're hanging out with your family and having a good time, getting some training in. I noticed you have new shirts out, and I'm going to order one. Do you ship worldwide, or obviously you do, I assume, yeah?
I don't think the website does, but if you just let me know your size when we're done here, and I'll make sure I get you one.
I also got, so all my podcast guests from now on, we're sending swag packs to from AK Thailand. So you will be getting, not that you're that interested, but you're getting the new podcast T-shirt.
Hell yeah!
So you're gonna get that, and you're gonna get some stuff from AK Thailand as well. We're gonna put some AK Thailand shirts, swag, podcast stuff. So every guest gets one now. So I'll be getting you or hooking up with you after the podcast, and we'll get that sent to the right address. So, but I want your shirt, man. I want to start collecting these shirts from all my guests. So I'm gonna definitely get that from you.
Yeah, we'll swap addresses, man. I'll send you some cool shit.
And coming up, obviously Ryan Spann, big fight coming up. How did that come about? I mean, he's obviously a tough opponent, a lot of finishes, a lot of submissions. He's ranked below you, so it's kind of going back, but still a tough opponent. How did this fight happen? How did this get put together?
Quickly, I talked a lot about having to, like, you're in 2 positions in this sport. You're either climbing or you're defending. So I think after those 2 losses where I kind of stubbed my toe a little bit and kind of had some weird stuff going on in my life, I lost twice. And, I was in no position to ask for anything. I was in no position to try to grab someone above me. So I had to defend my position. And once I open up the door to Devin Clark, I think then the rest of the guys, they're like, I think they've seen, like, all right, he's telling the truth. Like, he will fight anyone, anytime, anywhere. Like, I've always said that, but, like, a lot of guys say that shit. But they don't really live that life.
True.
So once I open the door to one of them, now they're all coming. Now they all want a piece of it because they're like, that's the guy that's going to give me my shot. Yeah. I think I the game a little bit because I remember how frustrated I was when I just wanted a big name or one of those guys that were ranked to give me a shot, and then, like, no one would. And I just don't want to keep. I don't want to keep that. I don't know. I guess I want to show that, like, you don't have to do that, like we can give these opportunities to these other guys, and if they beat us, we don't deserve to have our spot anyways. Yeah. So that's kind of always been my mentality. But as soon as I fought, the UFC called, like, that Monday afterwards and offered me Ryan Spann on a week's notice to main event. So they lost the main event. It wasn't the best timing because I had, like, some trips and shit coming up right away, but I was willing. I said, yeah, I'll do it. And then he accepted, and then he called back and said he couldn't make weight. So, like, all right, fine, I'm going on vacation then. So then, like, the next week, they call back again, and they're like, all right, same deal, Ryan Spann, week's notice, main event. And I was like, yeah, fine, whatever. And he said he couldn't make weight again. So, oh, wow. Then I figured, well, that's the kind of fight they're looking at. So I just figured, they said, when do you want to fight? And I said, I don't want to fight until September. And they said that they didn't think he would wait that long. I know that to be untrue because this is the third big guy below me. It's the third guy below me. Like, if he wants to fight, he'll wait. So then, like, oh, he really wants to fight. I was like, I'll promise you guys he's going to wait. So they called the next day and said he was going to wait. So
he ain't going to pass it up.
I'm willing to take these fights and be, in my mind, what a fighter is supposed to be. But if I'm going to be fighting down and given opportunities, then it's going to be on my time for sure.
Yeah, you're such a smart guy, man. That's why I love talking to you so much. You have so much intelligence you carry onto your fights and obviously in your commentating and stuff. All right, fellas, you want to help support the podcast? I know you do. All this content, all these interviews with these fantastic guests that we're putting out for you, well, now you can. And you can save 20% off and get free shipping by getting the best below-the-waist men's grooming products on the market. I'm talking about Manscaped. All you got to do is go to manscaped.com, manscaped.com, enter code QUICK at checkout, 20% off, and free shipping. Quick is my nickname. It is not how you use the product. Don't be silly, fellas. Come on. But Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels, and now they have the new Lawnmower 4.0, which is next level, the best trimmer on the market ever made. What makes it different? It has skin-safe replacement ceramic blades, controllable LED lights, wireless charging dock, and a 7,000 RPM motor with quiet stroke technology, and it's even waterproof. They also have a full line of hygiene and grooming products like the Shears 2.0 Luxury Nail Kit, Crop Mops, Preserver, Reviver, and a lot more. Manscaped has everything you need to appeal to your lady friend, but don't thank me, thank yourself. By going to manscaped.com, entering code QUICK, get 20% off, get free shipping. It's a win-win for you, it's a win-win for us, and you're supporting the podcast. Obviously, we're getting close. How far are we away from the fight? It's on the 18th?
Saturday, what's Saturday, 2 weeks?
2 weeks from now, so it's
maybe.
almost your camp's pretty much winding down right now. How's it been? How's camp been for this fight? How do you feel? How's your health? How's your training?
Oh man, it sucked. it's been
It's
so
good
tough.
though.
In a good way.
Yeah, it's always good when that happens.
Ryan Spann's a real big dude. He's like 6'5" or 6'6".
Oh,
he
shit, I
probably
didn't
walks
know that.
around. I've seen him before. I've seen him out and about. Like he's probably 240. He's a big dude. So I've been training with the heavyweights, which has sucked. God damn, it sucked. It definitely sucked really bad at the beginning. Just trying to move these guys that are 250, 260, some of them 270. Just trying to move them around and not get pushed around and just trying to figure out the size difference. And lifting heavy and trying to put on my own weight. I probably put on, I don't know, since Rakic, I probably put on 12 lean pounds. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm bigger than I've ever been right now. I feel strong. I feel fast. I kind of, I got to give DC some shit. He gave me a little bit of shit in the Devin Clark fight because I was trying to gain some weight and get bigger. But I think a lot of it went to my belly. So I looked a little chubby.
Works for DC.
And then I kind of got my feelings about it and seeing the fans and stuff online talking shit. So I leaned back down for the Jimmy Crute fight, but I didn't feel as good, lighter.
Yeah.
Like when I'm a little heavier, I feel like I'm more agile. I'm a better athlete. I feel like I'm faster. I move better. And I'm able to move people a lot better. So I kind of just said, fuck it. I'm just going to, if I got the dad bod going on, and forget it. You know what I mean? I feel good. I think that's what it's really about. So it's been tough, man. It's been just dealing with these big guys. It's been a tough go, but it's been really good for me. I feel it's cliche, man, but I feel as good as I've ever felt. I feel like I'm stronger. I'm moving better. I'm making better decisions, which is something that's new for me in training. At least sometimes I just go at it and just figure it out as I go. But yeah, I feel like everything's really coming together, and I keep using the term like turning the corner, but I feel like we've added a piece of the puzzle. I'm not exactly sure what that piece is, but for whatever reason, I just feel like things are coming together for me right now.
Yeah, we've seen a bunch of times where guys fight opponents that are lower ranked than themselves, but can still take a jump overall, and they're showing their skill set and kind of their ranking or where they should be. Especially you on a 2-fight win streak. What are you trying to do in this fight? Like without getting anything strategically. I know I ask this question a lot, but what is your main goal when you get done with this fight that you want to prove, or that you want to show, or that you want to kind of amplify to the world?
Well, so I think there's a couple things. I don't want to take anything away from my past opponents or Ryan Spann, but none of them were like specialists anywhere. They're all really good everywhere, but none of them are 100-0 in kickboxing or jiu-jitsu world champions or Olympic medalists in wrestling. So I haven't had anything to really worry about. Like there's nothing specifically that we're game planning for. It's just trying to sharpen my sword, like I'm trying to get my sword as sharp as I can get it and then just use it to take his head off. That's really all we're doing. So I think it's making me better that I don't really have to worry about anything that he does. Is he good? Yes. Is he powerful? Absolutely. Does he have some skills on the ground? For sure. Can he take me? Like, he can beat me. He can absolutely win this fight. But there's not like one thing that stands out. So I think just being able to just build the best product that I can build out of myself and then just take it in there and go fight. That's been a lot of fun for me. As far as what I want to go in there and do, I just want to shut him down. I absolutely believe there's levels to this game, and I think that there's the champion, the number one contender, and then there's a couple of us that stand out, and I think then there's everybody else. Yeah. And I think that I want to go there and show that. That they called me the legend killer for a long time, and it's never anything I've ever called myself, but there was a reason they said that, and it was because I was fighting some older guys, some former champions, some Hall of Famer guys. I think after 3, I go in there and put a stamp on Ryan Spann. That's 3 up-and-comers. That's 3 young guys. That's 3 killers that no one else wants to fight.
Right.
I think that shuts a lot of people up. It's not beating the old guard of guys anymore. Now I kind of want to go. I want to be the guy that beat the guys before me and the guys behind me, so that I can go in and win the title, from the guys that are in my era.
Yeah. Well, man, I'm going to be watching, rooting you on. Good luck for that. I think you're going to do fantastic. I always have no doubts in your fights. I'm going to ask you a couple more things real fast, though. Obviously, the big fight that just happened, Jake Paul and Tyron Woodley. What was your thoughts on that fight overall?
I don't mind the entertainment part of it. What I do get bothered by is Jake Paul and anyone else pretending that he's really good.
Yeah.
Like that really bothers me.
And showing the opposite.
When he talks
technically.
Yeah, like when he threw the first jab and his back foot came off the ground, just like I can't even imagine what Mark Montoya would do to me if I ever did that in practice.
Yeah.
Like he would just pull me aside and tear me a new asshole. But he just makes very amateur mistakes. It's not his fault because he's an amateur.
Right.
Like course. He's making mistakes that he should be making at this point in his career. But hearing him talk about all the work he's put in the last 18 months, and there's, this next year will be my 15th year in the sport. Like I don't give a shit what you've done in the last 18 months,
Yeah.
I think everyone deserves an opportunity to fight. It's the same argument I had with CM Punk. Like, what are we going to stick CM Punk in LFA and Denver or something? Like, he doesn't have a choice. He's kind of got to go to the UFC. It's the only place that can really handle him, or at least his profile.
Right.
So no matter what, Jake Paul's always going to be in big arenas and big fights, and they're going to be big draws because of his YouTube channel. I'm not hating on that at all. Like, I don't want to hate on anyone else making money or doing well for themselves. I'm all about that. It's the part where, like, he gets put above a lot of us and he's better than we are. Or he's, like, that's the stuff that bothers me.
Yeah.
Like, he's not good. He sucks really bad at fighting. And that's okay. But let's just not pretend that you don't.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of secretly kind of hoped at the end, since it was such a close fight and it was getting those later rounds, that Tyron would just pick him up and just slam him down and mount him and just hold him down until they pulled him off, just to show the world that in a matter of 30 seconds in a real fight, what would happen and how vulnerable he would be to a takedown and just getting his head smashed in without actually having to do it. I think that's what I would have done. I would have probably just forgotten about the money and the penalties and just did that just to be the guy to show the world, okay, I went into your game in boxing and it was a close fight. Who knows who would have won, but at the end of the day, we saw that there's a big difference in what I do and what you do, and I just want to make that clear for everyone else moving forward. But I mean, to see a guy that trains so hard not have a six-pack at all, or be lean and be so young, and then also be exhausted after 2 rounds of boxing, he was literally exhausted on the ropes after the second round, which is, Tyron should have went in and been more active. He was very good on the pressure and control, but just not unleashing those hands, which I think if he had done, especially when he was in the ropes, he could have finished with that knockdown or whatever. So I don't know about the whole training hard thing, unless he's just really getting ate up with the pressure when he goes out there. But his body doesn't show that he's training too hard either. I haven't seen guys that are putting the time in that he's saying that he's putting in, and then coming out there looking so soft, and to be so young and not so big, structured. It's not like he's a big guy. He should be a little more ripped than that. And I think the fight really showcased what I'm saying. I mean, I think a mediocre amateur boxer would tear him apart. I'm not even talking about like the best amateur boxer. I'm talking about like a good medium to high level amateur boxer would tear him apart. But he's pulling these guys in, and I agree with you on the same thing as far as he's pulling in the MMA fighters, the beasts that have like thousands of weapons they have to think about at any given time in this kinetic chess, this human kinetic chess that we're playing out there. And then you're taking all those weapons away, like 90-something% of your weapons away, and then you're having to get used to doing something that you haven't practiced, and you have like one fight camp to get ready for it. And then he's like, I'm beating up all these MMA fighters, but you're playing a whole different. It's like going golfing. I mean, it's different than that. Obviously, it's combat sports, but it's like it's like Taekwondo versus MMA. It's a whole different sport. So that's what bothers me. Probably the same as you. Is like he's using us to try to gain himself into this alpha category of being such a badass. But I think that fight, aside from his hand getting raised at the end, was pathetic. Like it was horrible. Like I mean, you see the other guys on the card how they fought to the end. Everybody fought to the end, and they looked pretty decent. Nobody was that tired or that exhausted, and they did have hard fights. And he was just exhausted, hanging on for dear life and like not doing anything. To me, it didn't show much, And again, I'm not trying to bag on him. I'm not trying to hate the guy. The guy's up and coming and stuff, but just how he talks compared to how he fights, that's the difference, I think, that really bothers me more than anything.
Yeah, that's 100% me. I don't really care how good he is. It doesn't matter to me, but it's the way that he talks. It's also he's like 6'2". He's like 6'2", walks around at 200, plus 200. Like, stop fighting welterweights. Yeah. Like, fight someone your own damn size. Like,
that's not
and
retired.
Stop fighting wrestlers. Like, as good as Tyron is, that's not what Tyron's best at.
Yeah.
Ben Askren. If him and Ben Askren in a wrestling match, Ben Askren rips one limb off at a time.
Absolutely.
But he's not a wrestler, or he's not a striker. So, he's not calling out the Anthony Smiths of the world.
No,
he's not, because he knows like I can do that just as well as I do anything else. And it's not because he needs a draw. He's got 20 million YouTube subscribers or some shit. Like, he has plenty of draw. Like, he can draw on his own. That's how big of a star he is. So he doesn't need another big star on the other side. He's kind of like Conor in that weird he's in that weird place where he can just be the one guy that draws, but he's never going to fight anybody that can, his team is very smart. They're picking very smart opponents. They're not, they're shorter guys. They're stocky. They're wrestlers. He can stay away and stay safe for the most part. I just don't. I was frustrated in Tyron because I know Tyron's better than that.
Yeah.
And it's the same problem he's been having in his MMA career. He's just stuck in neutral. He does a really good job of taking the distance and taking the space, and then he gets there and doesn't do anything with it. Like at this point, you already made over $1 million. Just let him fly. Who gives a shit? And you end up losing anyways. So like now, I bet he's looking back like, I lost the decision anyways. I should have just went for it and just let it go. But I think that later on in his career, Tyron's let some of the outside noise get to him a little bit. Is Tyron still good? Does he have a chin? Can he still fight? Is he too old? Is he done? Like, shut all that shit off and just let those bombs go, because he was when he decided to go, he was able to find it.
Absolutely.
But if you only do that a couple times in a 8-round fight, it's tough to win a decision like that.
He fought a way better fight than Jake Paul overall as far as positioning, footwork, movement, pressure, and damage. But the problem is like you said, when he did have him against the ropes or hurt or whatever, he didn't let those hands go. And multiple times he closed the distance. And he's a good friend of mine, and I'm not trying to pick on him because I thought he did a great job as far as going into a new sport and pushing him back and keeping that pressure and control. But I know Tyron could have finished that guy, like watching that fight. Like, I just know Tyron too well. So I don't know. I can't put myself in his shoes. I've never fought boxing, pro boxing match against, especially a YouTuber who you definitely don't want to lose to. And so there's a little bit of pressure and fear in that regard. Yeah. And he's running the show, and there's probably all kinds of shit that they know that I don't know behind the scenes. So I can't really put myself in that position, and I don't want to judge, but it's just like I was frustrated that he didn't get that knockout because I know he could have. And I think if he saw the video as we saw it, as it happened, he would have been a lot more confident. I don't know what he was looking at or what he was thinking when he was out there, but if he saw what we saw, he was in position to knock him out 80% of that fight. Like, he was backpedaling on the ropes, and Tyron was keeping that pressure forward. And so I think if they have a second match, that rematch happens, I think hopefully he's going to put that pressure on and show him the difference of someone who's aggressive and someone who's, not as in good a shape or can handle that pressure and backs up too much when they get hit. What do you think about the tattoo thing? Like, if you were in that position with Tyron, would you do that tattoo for the rematch like he's putting on there? I mean, is it worth a rematch for you to get a tattoo saying "I love Jake Paul" where it's visible to get a rematch though for $1 million or $2?
I got some real stupid tattoos. First of all, I would have never made the tattoo bet ever.
But if it's the only way to get a guaranteed rematch,
yeah, guaranteed rematch for sure. Like if you got a contract like in front of you, and there's like there's some sort of penalty or clause if Jake Paul backs out.
Right.
Like,
absolutely.
Fine, get it, and go get that W, and then after you beat him, who gives a shit? Cover it up. Do whatever you got to do. But I would have never made the bet to begin with. But maybe the bet is going to be the thing that saves Tyron's ass. Like maybe Jake Paul wants to embarrass him so bad with the tattoo, he's willing to do it a second time. And with the amount of times that Jake Paul exits to his right with his chin up and his hands down, I cannot imagine that the team that's around Tyron doesn't adjust to that.
Absolutely.
And Tyron says screw it and just lets it go. So yeah, to answer your question, if I got the rematch, if that was guaranteed, fuck it, man, get the tattoo.
This is what I would do, man. I would keep this tattoo for the rest of my life. So what I would do is I would guaranteed get the tattoo 100% in a very visible place as long as I got the rematch. Then I would go out there and fight or die to kill this guy. And then after I beat him, I would just make the tattoo the first time with enough spacing that I would just put "I love beating Jake Paul." I would just put a little beating in there because there's no clause. There's no clause about adding a word into the tattoo afterwards. You just can't erase the tattoo. So I would just put "I love" and then "beating Jake Paul" and then like a smiley face or a winky face.
That would be perfect.
And I would keep that forever. And then they can put as much internet. People can see it as much as they want. Who cares? That's my plan anyway. So I hope he has the same plan and fights with that. So the tattoo is not the end of the world if you add a little creativity to it and you get that win that second time.
Right.
And that might set up a third fight. Now this guy might get 3 huge paydays.
Right. And I'm happy about that, man. Like when their like guaranteed money came out and Tyron's was over $1 million, like that just made me just like, that's what I'm talking about. Like, go get that check, man. Like he's been in the game a long time. He's been through a lot of shit. He was a dominant champion. Like, I was super happy to see him get that paycheck. So if he can get it twice and maybe 3 times, like, do what you got to do, man. You got kids.
What's up, everybody? I am here in Thailand. This is the first time I've ever been here. Been dying to come here for years. Mike Swick, he's one of the big reasons he's been trying to pull me down here. What he built down here, AKA Thailand, is incredible. There's people here from all over the world. You can train mixed martial arts here, jiu-jitsu. They have weightlifting, they have cardio, and obviously they have Muay Thai, boxing, everything. I'm telling you guys, I know everybody wants to go to Thailand because Thailand's so cool, but you can't come to Thailand without coming to AKA Thailand. Come on.
What do you think about Oscar de la Hoya and Vitor Belfort? I mean, this is a guy, Vitor Belfort, I watched coming up. And if you watch my style has been based on Vitor Belfort since I was a kid because I wanted to knock people out fast and be furious and be aggressive and be an animal. And so he was like the biggest influence I had growing up. Then he had his full career, and he's still fighting. And, of course, he's fighting Oscar de la Hoya, who's not young himself. But what do you think about that being such a dominant, striking MMA fighter, but fighting a really technical boxer, who I assume is a little bit less weight, but...
Man, I think Vitor is going to beat the dog shit out of Oscar.
Really?
I really do. And obviously we all know guys in the game, and I've heard that Oscar is not looking fantastic, and I hear that he's not living his life the way that he should be living his life.
Yeah.
So again, I'm not here to bash Oscar, but like it's out there. People hear the rumblings. I'm sure people see it on Twitter. Oscar's not living the cleanest lifestyle right now. So in Vitor, for what everyone says about the PED thing or the TRT Vitor or whatever, like the guy lives a pretty clean lifestyle. Like
yeah,
he eats right, he works out, he's always in shape. His testosterone levels right now are on fire.
Yeah.
He's looking mean as ever. I'm a Vitor fan, man. I love his game, and typically I'm pretty harsh on PD users or guys that have been popped before, like pretty harsh on those guys. But for whatever reason, there's two guys that are pretty high profile that I always give a pass to. It's Vitor Belfort and Chael Sonnen. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I've always just given those guys a pass and just left them alone. So I'm excited for it. I think that it's one of those times I think we can get an MMA guy into a boxing match and like take out one of their legends, you know what I mean? One of their aging guys.
Yeah. And going back to what you said about Oscar De La Hoya and people hearing the ramblings, people heard it quite well when he was commentating during Triller. I mean, he was rambling quite well himself. You didn't have to hear other people ramble about him. What he was saying made no sense at all. So I think coming from someone who knows people who have situations, I guess, that you could say that he's having, it's not something you can just stop so easily. And then when you do stop, it has drastic effects. So to imagine him going into a professional, of course, not taking away from his abilities, he was one of the best in the world, but considering these reasons and where he's at right now, going into a fight, in an athletic situation like that, at a high-level pro fight against a guy as dangerous as Vitor Belfort, I just don't see him winning either.
Yeah, I don't. And I think you hit the nail right on the head there. If he's not living correctly, we both obviously know people that are living that life or have lived it.
Can't just stop.
If he's not, if that's how he's living right now, and he's living his life like that, then he's not focused on fighting. He's not in the gym at 6 a.m. He's not running. He's not training the way he should. And if he's not doing that stuff, then his body's trashed.
Yeah.
His body's fighting against itself right now, which is also not a great thing.
Yeah, it'd be crazy to go through a fight camp and detoxing your body at the same time. You can't possibly get the same output. I just don't see how that can be happening. Your body's fighting off all these toxins.
Not at his age.
Yeah. You need to take that into consideration too. I don't see how that's going to happen. And then what about they had just announced, I guess recently, Ortiz versus Anderson. That's an interesting fight, but in my opinion, I don't see how Tito could win that fight in a boxing fight. I mean, that's a weird. I can't believe that fight even got. Am I crazy for saying that? Like, it's a fight that's kind of shocking. Where I think it's really kind of one-sided. Like, it's not even like. I really don't see how Tito can beat Anderson in that fight. Like, I don't even see a way in boxing.
I don't see any path to victory.
Yeah, I don't either.
Barring an aging, kind of. I'm trying to think of a way to describe Chuck Liddell in his current state without being disrespectful, but you know what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
Who was Tito ever knocked out? Ever, even when he was young.
Yeah.
Like from a standing position. Like no one really. You know what? I don't want to be here taking shots at Tito. He's a legend, but I don't see anywhere he wins.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen. I can't even put my analyst hat on and make it seem like there's a way that he could win that fight. I don't see it.
And then Anderson fighting Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. I mean, I know he's not like a top-ranked boxer or anything, but I mean, he looked damn good out there.
What a monster, Anderson! Like to just turn the page and beat a guy who's, like you said, he's not like a world beater or the most dangerous guy in the world or the best boxer ever. But goddamn, that guy boxed for a long time. He was in there with a lot of really good dudes. Like, he knows his way around a ring. So it kind of went under the radar. Like, one of our best strikers ever, against one of the better strikers in boxing. Like, and no one really made a big deal of it. I feel like Anderson should have got a whole lot more credit for that.
Absolutely.
Because, we took our best striker at the time in Conor. At least that's how he was being touted. Versus Floyd Mayweather, and like, oh, Conor, he did okay for what it was, but like Anderson went in and won, and looked great doing it.
Yeah.
So I think he deserves more credit for that.
Absolutely. So yeah, we agree on that for sure. Just for your analytical standpoint, what do you think about my teammate Islam? He's obviously fighting RDA coming up. A lot of hype behind him. I know how he is from the gym, so I have my opinion of what he's going to do and where he can end up. But from his fights and everything, what is your standpoint from your perspective on Islam and his future?
I wanted to see Islam versus someone better than RDA, to be honest with you, because I think the RDA fight looks very similar to Habib and RDA.
Yeah.
I'm really impressed with how good of a striker Islam is. Everyone's always talked about his grappling, and we hear it in the back of the rooms. You know what I mean? Like, oh, Islam, he's a monster on the ground, but his range management I thought was really impressive. He just really forces people back, but he's never like crashing in. That's hard to do. So I'm really impressed with that. I just think that I think he mauls RDA, at least at this point in RDA's career. Even guys like Michael Chiesa were able to kind of wet blanket RDA a little bit. And I'm not saying that Michael Chiesa isn't fantastic, because he's really good on the ground too. But if Michael Chiesa can do it, then Islam absolutely can.
Yeah. And he has that grappling that Khabib has. Khabib is just an unbelievable grappler, ground and pounder, who's just savage, and like he's the best at that exact thing, grappling and ground and pound and position on the ground. Islam has that same grappling. I think a little less ground and pound, but more striking on the feet, which could be more effective, because if you can control someone on the ground, you're still winning either way, no matter how much ground and pound is actually being dished out. But he's got that striking, which is going to carry him pretty far, I think, as well as the Khabib ground and pound. So, and in the gym, I'll just say this: the only person we ever saw that would give Khabib a hard time, or like if we were to say what opponent could possibly match up with Khabib and give him a good fight and potentially do well against Khabib, it's always been Islam. Like of all the people in the sport, we've always said Islam, and now he's getting his shot. So I'm super, super excited to see how he does. I think unlike Khabib, I think he doesn't fight to the same level as he trains at. He's getting better and better at it. He's training, like Khabib would train savagely and fight just as savage. Islam would train savage, but then fight a little less savage. And then over time, he's gotten better at showing his, savagery and aggressiveness and his full potential when he's actually fighting. So that's getting caught up now. And I think when that gets fully caught up, it's going to be he's going to be a very dangerous fighter, in my opinion, for the entire division.
Yeah, I think a lot of those guys at the top are they're impatiently waiting for Islam to come up, because I think he's going to have a coming out party when he fights RDA. I don't suspect he's going to have any problems really. I don't see anywhere where and I'm not saying RDA can't win. Can he catch him? For sure. He's powerful. RDA is a veteran. He's crafty. He's been around a long time. But I think Islam's a better grappler, at least on top. I think that he's good enough a wrestler to take him down. I think he's good enough on his feet to stay safe at the very least. I do like how Islam seems to make I don't want to say make mistakes. He takes more chances than Khabib did on the ground when he's on top. He gets into more like scrambly transitions, which is a good thing, I think, to be honest with you. I think sometimes Khabib pulled his foot off the gas and didn't take as many chances. I think if he took more chances, I think Khabib would have finished more guys faster.
Right.
He just, over a period of time, he wore guys down, he broke them, exhausted them, and then they just looked for the door. Mm-hmm. I think if Khabib would have taken some more chances and opened up a little bit more on top, I think he would have got faster finishes and looked even more dominant than he already is. I think Islam is he does that a little bit better than Khabib does. He a little bit less ground and pound, but he looks to pass more. He gets into, and sometimes guys get away. You know what I mean? Like, and that's kind of the trade-off, right? You take a few more chances to try to get a big finish or get to a better position. Sometimes you lose the position completely. Yeah. But he doesn't seem to mind that, because he's pretty comfortable on his feet. I think Khabib was a little less comfortable in those striking exchanges, so I think he always did everything he possibly could to make sure he never lost that position.
Right.
It doesn't seem like Islam gives a shit where he's at.
No.
Which is,
he doesn't.
I think at the end of the day, I think that's what's going to set him apart from Khabib.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you 100%. Definitely. And then with Diego in talks of moving to Bare Knuckle FC, have you been watching that? Are you entertained by the Bare Knuckle stuff? All these guys moving in and doing that, or not? And do you think that's a good move for Diego to go to something where it's going to be just head trauma for a guy who's fought for so long and taken so many tough fights? Like, it's almost like the opposite, I think, where I would like to see him go. But what are your thoughts on him going there? And what are your thoughts on just the overall matchups they've been having and we've been able to see if you've been watching?
So to answer the Diego question, hell no. That's the last place I wanted to see Diego end up.
Yeah.
He went, like you said, he went the totally opposite direction. Like,
yeah,
that's not what we need at all. So I'm disappointed in that. I don't want to shit on Diego.
No. This is just
had a long career. He's taken a lot of shots. It's because I care about Diego.
Yeah,
it's not,
absolutely.
It's the opposite of trashing him. I care about him.
Me too.
As far as bare knuckle, man, I'm addicted.
It's interesting.
I love this shit.
It's interesting.
I love it. I think it's very interesting. It's new. It's just different. I think it gives an opportunity to, a lot of these unknowns and maybe people who don't really fit anywhere. You see a lot of these guys and girls in bare knuckle. They weren't like fantastic boxers and they weren't fantastic MMA fighters, but like they found somewhere kind of in the middle. And I'm here for it, man. I've really been enjoying it. My wife is a big fight fan. She loves MMA. She loves the UFC. She likes watching Belfort. She likes the PFL. She's not really big into boxing. She doesn't like it. It's not enough action for her. There's not enough things going on. If bare knuckles on, I can't pull her away from the TV. I mean, that's kind of my gauge on it. Like, okay, I'm not crazy for thinking this is a little barbaric, but I enjoy every second of it.
Yeah.
I don't think I could ever do it because I don't think my hands would hold up, to be honest with you. There's no way I could fight bare knuckles. So I wouldn't be able to hit anybody. I'd just be out there getting punched because I'd just break every bone on my hand every time I punch. But so I think I've had too many hand surgeries for that shit. But I wish. I mean, I don't know if there is a place I'd be okay with Diego going, to be honest with you, because if he went to another organization that was going to be able to pay him what he needs paid or what he's earned, he's not getting any easy fights. Is he going to go to Bellator so they can use him to prop up some young savage? I don't think that's any better than bare knuckle. And same with the PFL. The PFL doesn't give a shit about your legacy, who you fought, how long you've been around, how many times you're in the Hall of Fame. I would say PFL is one of the purest forms of promotions right now. It's just a bracket, line them up, and they don't really give a shit who you are. So I don't know if there is a place Diego ends up that I would be okay with.
Yeah, it's sad because like with the money situation, being a longtime veteran, you got to do something. You know what I mean? So, and going back to you right now, what do you have going on outside? Obviously, you're doing your analytical stuff and commentating and stuff, but business-wise, do you have anything going on in business? Anything new? Are you into crypto? Anything cool?
No, man, I try to stay away from the crypto stuff. That shit scares me.
Dude, I'm deep into crypto.
I am getting into this real estate thing, though. So
yeah,
I'm not really I'm not super into the long-term renters. But I am diving into these like vacation rentals, like at lakes or like essentially just vacation destinations.
Oh, nice.
And then doing like the Airbnb thing, the money you can make, and you can pay off a $500,000 house in like 8 years. Yeah. And never, if you're not touching, if you're just dumping everything back into the house, you can pay that shit off fast. So, my plan is to, in the next 10 years, if I can have 3 or 4 of those completely paid off, I think they'd be sitting in a pretty good spot.
Nice. Well, that's good, man. You're smart. You got a lot of stuff going on.
Well, and I guess I just signed a new 4-fight deal with, or 4-year deal with ESPN.
Oh, cool.
To continue doing the desk stuff. So
congrats.
ESPN's got me back on the desk for another 4 years.
Nice.
Yeah, I signed a new contract with SiriusXM too. Both those deals were up at the same time, so I got a brand new SiriusXM deal and a brand new ESPN deal. So that's always a positive.
Well, well deserved. Still like me. I'd say they made a smart move in that. Well deserved on that. And then lastly, final question for you, just off the beaten path. And I've probably asked you this before, but what TV shows or movies are you interested in? What kind of stuff do you like, and what are you doing to kill time during your fight camp right now to get your mind off everything?
I just watched a really good movie. 13 Hours in Benghazi. Have you seen that?
No, I haven't seen.
I just watched that movie.
It's an old movie, right? Or is that new?
It's a little bit older, yeah.
I think I saw that. I saw the Benghazi movie. I don't know exactly the name of it, but it was a while back. It wasn't super new.
Yeah, so I just watched that one. I haven't really been getting into too much Netflix lately. My wife is watching that the documentary on Christy Martin.
Oh, the boxer.
The boxer.
Yeah.
Back in the day, her husband almost killed her.
Yeah.
So I'm going to start that. Here pretty soon. As far as killing time, man, not much. I've been golfing every Tuesday with my head coach. That's kind of been something we've added into our training schedule. So that's been fun, just kind of getting out of the gym and going and golfing. I got a baby on the way.
Oh, congrats.
Not me, but my wife does.
Nice.
So yeah, we got a baby due in October, so we're just kind of starting to ramp up for that and get ready for that.
Oh, that's gonna be nice right after the fight.
Yeah.
Nice.
Another girl.
Oh, really? What is with fighters and girls? I have 2 of them.
That's 4 girls.
4 for you?
That's 4.
Kane has girls. I got girls.
4 girls. I'm out.
It's unbelievable, dude. All fighters have girls. It's some kind of like.
Yeah, I'm done.
They're
I'm
adorable,
out.
but it's gonna
I'm
be
done.
such a stress when they get older and they start dating. Then you got to deal with all that.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, man. Other than that, we're just I'm doing the volleyball thing with my oldest. She's pretty dead set on volleyball. My middle kid is in basketball, and then the youngest plays soccer, and so we're busy on the weekends for sure.
Well, man, thank you so much for your time. I know you always give me all your time, and you're very generous with me, and I appreciate that so much. I know you got a fight coming up, and it's always great talking to you. So I got to ask you a lot of other questions because I just love the conversations we have. But good luck on your fight. It's coming up September 18th, Ryan Spann. Hopefully I got the date correct. September 18th, Ryan Spann.
Yep.
Good luck with that fight. I'll be watching. We'll be rooting for you here in Thailand. And hopefully you can come out here and visit soon and check out the gym and see Phuket, hopefully after one of these victories.
Hell yeah, man. That'd be good. I appreciate the good conversations, man. These days it's hard to – all the interviews and conversations you have aren't always the most enjoyable. So I don't mind these ones at all. I have a good time. So
yeah, thank you.
All right, man. Coming to Thailand. That's the plan. We're going to figure it out.
All right, brother. So I'll hit you up right after to get the correct address where you're at right now, and I'll send you a nice little swag bag and from AK Thailand and from the podcast. And yep, so be expecting that.
Perfect. All right, man. Sounds good. Take care.
All right, brother. Take care.